this is Andrew,
And I'm Sam.
and this is Teams Talk Politics, and this is the following week from last week that we'll be covering the news that happened since last Saturday. And, of course, we won't be covering stuff that happened on the day this releases, because we do have to have time to record this, so we won't be covering that. So anyways, we're going to kick off with the January 6th committee. Nancy Pelosi has kicked Representative Jim Jordan and Representative Jim Banks off the January 6th commission. There was nominees that Kevin McCarthy had put through, and now that Nancy Pelosi has gotten rid and said that those two members of Congress won't be able to go on these committees, Kevin McCarthy has withdrew all of his nominees, and Republicans won't be participating in this committee. However, Adam Kinzinger is considering going on the committee, and Liz Cheney is already on the committee. So Sam, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, it probably wasn't the best move, especially for looking partisan with Nancy Pelosi. I'm obviously not too informed on the situation, but it maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not saying that Speaker Pelosi has to kind of align with Biden's agenda, but if she wants to be more cross-partisan, like the new Democratic Party is kind of hoping, Pelosi's got to kind of open up to more of these things, even though these lawmakers probably wouldn't be the most helpful for the January 6th commission. I think it could have been good to show some representation in there for the other, yeah.
I actually disagree with that, because at the end of the day, if you want to get something done in Congress, you can't have extremists like Jordan, like Banks. They're very far right. They're pro-conspiracy theories. They're pro-Trump. And if they were serving on these committees, they wouldn't actually want to do anything. They're just trying to stop and halt progress in this committee investigation.
Yeah,
So I think it's quite good of Nancy Pelosi to get rid of them.
That's probably true, but I think they put Pelosi in a tough spot, as I was saying earlier. I think, Pelosi either had to do what you wanted, which is get something done, and that would be via refusing them to join the commission, or look a lot less cross-partisan. And do you think the Republican Party tried to put that situation on Pelosi, or not really? Like, what do you think their intentions were from getting these guys under the representative
what they really
commission?
Wanted to do is they wanted to shape the conversation to be like, Nancy Pelosi is trying to kick off Republicans off this committee that she doesn't want serving, showing that Nancy Pelosi is control of Congress and they're not serving in a bipartisan manner. And that's really what they wanted to do. And Nancy Pelosi really didn't have a choice. If she wanted the committee to actually do something, she would have to get rid of them. If she wanted to act like in a bipartisan manner, keep Jim Jordan, keep Jim Banks on the committee. However, you won't be able to get much done. Liz Cheney said herself that she supported what Nancy Pelosi had done, because at the end of the day, Kevin McCarthy is calling this a partisan witch hunt, which it completely is not. Because at the end of the day, they're just trying to find out what happened on January 6th. And for Nancy Pelosi to kick off two representatives, it's a smart decision if they want to get things done. There were 3 other representatives that she was fine with them serving. I don't remember their names, but Nancy Pelosi approved them, and they were Republicans. And she already had one Republican in the 5 representatives that she picked out to serve on the committee. Liz Cheney was one of them. So even if the Republicans, as they did, they left the committee, McCarthy said that he will not be participating in the committee, and he will be starting his own investigation. Even then, it's still a bipartisan investigation, because Liz Cheney and possibly Adam Kinzinger are serving on that committee. Yet you have 2 Republicans and possibly 4 Democrats. So at the end of the day, yes, there is both Republican and Democrat contributions to this investigation. So I do support what Nancy Pelosi did. The progressive wing of the Democratic Party, the more moderate conservative wing of the Republican Party supports it. And literally everyone on the Democrat side including, like I said, the progressive, they all support this decision that Nancy Pelosi did. And at the end of the day, I also think it was the best for her to do. And yes, Kevin McCarthy is trying to shape the conversation. Conservative media is going to agree with Kevin McCarthy, trying to shape the conversation. Nancy Pelosi is trying to take over Capitol Hill, and she's controlling everybody. But if you look at the facts, it's just simply not true. She was doing what Kevin McCarthy wanted her to do. Kevin McCarthy wanted her to see these nominees he put up for the committee and being like, Jim Jordan, he does not know what the hell he's doing. He argues with Dr. Fauci many of the times about mask regulations. He's pro-conspiracy theories. I wouldn't be surprised if he's pro-QAnon. He's pro-Trump. He didn't believe in the election results because all his people were like, please make sure the election results aren't certified, making Biden's win official. So for Jim Jordan to serve on that committee, it would be a big downfall to this committee. So like I said, I do believe that Nancy Pelosi made the right decision. So do many, many Democrats.
That's very factual.
So, the next section of this podcast, we're going to be talking about the COVID cases beginning to rise. And right before I started recording this, I got a notification saying the state of Nevada had started to rise in COVID cases. And I think this is purely because of, I think it's the 52% of people that are not fully vaccinated yet, and then the percentage of people that still haven't gotten one dose. And at the end of the day, this is a controllable virus. We could end this virus right now. We just needed everyone to get vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And for people to spread misinformation on Facebook, on Twitter, yes, a lot of times it will be flagged and put down, but at the end of the day, people are still going to see it before it's put down. And yes, it's, quote, freedom of speech, but it's also sharing lies and making people not believe in science, saying these vaccines are going to kill people, they're going to put tracking devices in our bloodstream or whatever the crap they're trying to put out into the world. I don't know why they're against vaccines. The only reason that people, a lot of people are just trying to be anti-vaccine because everyone gets vaccinated. The country hits herd immunity. Then President Biden will look good. Republicans will not look good. They will be known as the last Republican president will be known as the person that started the pandemic, and the Democrat president will be known as the person that ended the pandemic. So a lot of these people are trying to be like, okay, don't hit herd immunity. You're going to make Biden look good. Sam, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's shameful that that some people like these are going to waste lies and spread information just so that their presence looks good in the history, in the history books. I think while spreading this information, you're endangering hundreds of lives, if not thousands, if not thousands of tens of thousands, and so when you continue to do this, and when you continue to spread misinformation, people are still going to be skeptical, even though the reasons, but it's super illogical not to get vaccinated, which we could discuss later. But it's shameful that you will prolong a deadly pandemic in order to make yourself look good, or in order to make a past president look better, in order to put shame on the present president.
Right. And you mentioned that they were trying to look good in history. And at the end of the day, Republicans have already tarnished their name so much in the past several months, ignoring the fact that January 6th was an insurrection, an attempted coup at the Capitol, calling it a tourist visit. And already, they've already tarnished their name.
Yeah.
So, for them to try to take credit for the vaccine, no matter what, the history books are going to look back and say, who was on the right side of history? Was it the Republicans, or was it the Democrats?
That's very true.
Of course, there will be certain Republicans that stand out, though. There will be certain Republicans that stand out.
Yeah.
And, of course, there's Democrats in history that stand out as being negative. Strom Thurmond, Robert Byrd. These are people that were staunch segregationists, but they were also part of this Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So it's very similar in the Republican
The
Party.
eyes of history won't look to you. Control your own history. A message to the Republicans is don't act, especially Trumpists, don't act like Trump is your god and that you are serving for him. He he is gone now. You cannot hide behind him. Either do the good and right thing of protect your fellow American citizens, or still continue to hold out for hope that either Trump will regain his power or that the party will hold together. Because it's absurd that these lives will be wasted just for some Trumpist ideals.
Right, and COVID-19, the pandemic could have been over if the last Republican administration, Donald Trump, had taken control of the virus and responded to it the first day that it landed in America, not expecting it to go away in some sort of miracle that was never going to happen. And like I said, for Republicans to say, oh, we're going to take credit for the vaccine, it was actually Republicans that ended the pandemic, which is false. As far as we're aware, this pandemic will not go 4 more years because of the current administration's
with proficiency. And Democrats will be known as the people that ended the pandemic. So, at the end of the day, I've said at the end of the day several times, I just realized, but yes, Republicans will not be looked back lightly, while Democrats will be in a good light.
That's very factual, especially when these Democrats are trying to protect the lives of these Americans.
Right, and I think we're on to the next point that we're going to try to make in this conversation, and this is about a confrontation that Senator Paul and Dr. Fauci have had in the past few days. They've had this many, many times, and this is one of the only few arguments that they've had, and it's always Dr. Fauci and Senator Paul arguing about coronavirus, which of course makes sense because Dr. Fauci that's why he's talking most of the time, is about coronavirus, trying to stop the spread and giving people advice. And we're going to play that confrontation real quick.
Dr. Fauci, as you are aware, it is a crime to lie to Congress. Section 1001 of the U.S. Criminal Code creates a felony and a 5-year penalty for lying to Congress. Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly, and I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about.
As you can see from that video that we just played, they were arguing about the coronavirus restrictions, opening up the economy, and just wearing masks. There's not much to talk about it unless Sam has anything to add on.
Yeah, I think stop bickering, like Senator Paul, stop bickering, and then let the professionals do their work. The grown-ups are speaking.
Exactly.
It's like...
And his argument is, oh, I'm a doctor. Yes, he was a doctor. He was an eye doctor. Eyes do not have anything to do with respiratory diseases. He had no political background, which is a big thing that I understood before he became a senator. But at the end of the day, yes, he's a doctor, but that does not cover respiratory diseases. Unless a respiratory disease gets in your eye, I don't know. But yeah, that's a big thing right there. And now, we're going to go on to my favorite part of this, and this is going to be called Fox News BS. And basically this is I about Texas Democrats. And I was watching Fox News the other day, and I made a bullet points of what they said that Democrats were being hypocrites about. Now, first one, Democrats did not wear masks on the private plane that they flew in from Texas to D.C. First thing, it's a private plane. Second of all, we know for a fact they've been fully vaccinated. On a plane, a commercial airline, you cannot ask for someone's vaccine passport because it's infringing their rights or something. It probably shouldn't be that way, but a lot of Republicans are arguing you can't do that, even though you have to be vaccinated with certain vaccinations before you go to school, before you can work at certain places. So I don't really understand that very much. However, that's one thing. It doesn't really make sense because they know that everyone's fully vaccinated. Next one, they didn't show vaccine passports before they got on the plane. This is even more crazy because I feel like you can trust your colleagues more than you can trust some random stranger that's next to you on a plane. And
Yeah, I think.
yeah, I find that humorous.
Yeah, as we know, you don't wear a mask when you're in your car, right?
Right.
And if it's your property, then you might as like when you're on public transit, you should wear a mask because you don't own that property. The government does. And in this case, they're requiring airlines to require passengers to wear a mask during their flight.
Right.
And so, but they're not requiring they're not requiring you to wear a mask while you're in your car. They're not requiring you to wear a mask when you're in your own plane, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's absurd.
Like when I see Sam in person, I don't have to wear a mask because I know he's been vaccinated. I don't need to see his vaccine passport to trust that he's been vaccinated. It's the same thing with people that you work with. If you've known them for a long period of time, you don't need to see their vaccine passport to trust that they're vaccinated. And it's the same thing here. So that doesn't really make sense. And like I said, it's quite humorous to me that this is one of their arguments for it. The next thing is even more crazy. They didn't call it a super spreader event, even though everyone on that plane was fully vaccinated. Do they not understand that the whole point of getting a vaccine is so the virus doesn't spread around? Because they honestly don't understand that.
To prevent super spreader events like the White House Garden incident.
And just to give everybody what we're really talking about, this was on Sean Hannity. Okay, so you can understand why he's making up these crazy ideas about, oh, they're being hypocrites because they didn't show a frickin' vaccine passport even though they're all fully vaccinated. And because of that point, it makes didn't call it a super spreader event even more crazy because if they're all fully vaccinated, it's very, very difficult and very improbable for everybody to get the coronavirus if they've been fully vaccinated. So it's not really a super spreader event whatsoever. And the last point is they would have criticized others if they did what they did, meaning Democrats would have criticized Republicans for doing what they did flying to
Even
D.C.
though you didn't criticize very similar incidents during the Trump administration.
Right, but the main thing here is Democrats have never tried to take away voting rights from people. Constitutionally, they cannot do it, but they can put these small things in like, oh, so if you're in a minority city, how about we take away a few voting booths for you, so then you have to wait in longer lines, but we're also going to shorten the hours, so then you have less time to vote. It's small things like this. Democrats have never tried to do this. And this is a strong pillar for our democracy, letting people to vote. And when you get rid of that, yes, it asks for desperate measures. And this is what Texas Democrats are trying to do. They had to flee the state so that they can't vote on a preposterous bill trying to suppress the vote of minorities, people in a financial or a low financial place. And yes, they would have criticized Republicans. But I highly doubt it wouldn't be something as sacred as the right to vote and protecting the right to vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and the last point we're going to make is about the town hall with President Biden. That was on Wednesday night with Don Lemon with CNN.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Biden was able to connect with a lot of people that voted for him and a lot of people that didn't vote for him. There were several people that he asked questions from, or got questions from, that were Republican, and several that were Democrat. And this is really something that Trump struggled with. Trump was really never able to connect with an American person, American people. I think Biden is really strong in that section where he's able to connect with people. He's had struggles in his life just like an average person would. I'm afraid Trump has not had that. He was born wealthy, and he still is wealthy. He's lived a luxurious life. I'm afraid the current president has not had that. He has had a child die. His wife died. So, two children have died of his. So he's really able to connect with people in the way he talks, how calm he is, how welcoming he is, and I think he was really able to connect with people. Another thing is he got a few facts wrong, and the media is really attacking him on it. And yes, it is good for him to take credit for, or take responsibility, sorry, for getting facts wrong. But it's very minor things.
Yep.
It's, your
it's
money
like-
for the tax credit, you said 200, it's supposed to be 300. That, I don't think that's true, that's just an example, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
I think it's like number one, man, he has a speech impediment. Give him a break. Since and if he's owning up to it, it's fine. Like just don't attack him for it. Like
right.
it's like not a big deal, especially if they admit their fault.
And yes, it does seem like there's a double standard here. But Biden's going to probably going to say, "Oh yes, I was wrong. This is how I correct myself." Trump never did that. He lied almost every single day in every single speech he did. But he was like, "Oh, that's true. That's definitely true," even though it definitely wasn't true. And I don't think Biden's ever going to do that during his presidency. So unless Sam has anything else to say, I think we're going to end this.
I think it's good.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to be back on Tuesday at 3 p.m. when our next video comes out. Thank you for watching.
See you guys later. Bye.